I'd seen concrete before in my life, but this was different. This concrete was built to kill us, and it was working. From the post-war testimony of an American soldier who served on the Siegfried Line, autumn 1944, on the border of Germany, and standing in front of them was one of the most formidable defensive systems ever built. September 1944. The western border of Germany. Paris had fallen. Allied forces had swept through France. Everything was moving fast. Maybe the war would be over by Christmas, people were saying. Maybe sooner. Then it stopped. Everything stopped. The Siegfried Line. The Germans called it the Westwall. 630 kilometers of defensive fortifications, thousands of concrete bunkers, machine gun nests, anti-aircraft positions. In front of it, pyramid-shaped concrete obstacles called Dragon's Teeth, designed to stop tanks. Behind those, minefields, and behind the minefields, German forces. Sergeant Michael Donovan served with the 1st Infantry Division. He was from New York, 27 years old. He had fought in North Africa, fought in Sicily, fought at Normandy, 3 years of war, and now he was at the door of Germany. But that door wasn't opening. The first day he saw the line, he turned to Murphy beside him. "When was this built?" he asked. Murphy shrugged. "30s, he said. "Been here 10 years. Donovan looked at the concrete. It was thick, very thick. "Can we get through it?" he asked. Murphy didn't answer.
The Siegfried Line, or Westwall, was a defensive system Germany built between 1936 and 1938 and reinforced in 1944. It ran 630 kilometers and consisted of approximately 18,000 concrete structures. The bunkers were constructed with walls averaging between 1.5 and 3.5 meters of solid concrete. The Dragon's Teeth in front of the line were pyramid-shaped concrete blocks designed to stop tank movement. When American forces reached the line in September 1944, a combination of logistical problems, exhausted units, and strong German resistance brought the advance to a halt. Breaking through took far longer and cost far more than anyone had anticipated.
The first day the attack order came, Donovan and his unit moved toward the line. The Dragon's Teeth were visible, rows of concrete pyramids built to stop tanks. Donovan was infantry, so he would have to pass between them. He would try. On the first step, a mine went off. To the left, 20 meters away, a man went down. Donovan froze. He looked around him. Every patch of ground could be mined. The commander's voice came down the line. "Advance slowly, single file." Donovan slowed down. He thought about every step before he took it. He looked at the ground. He looked at anything that seemed different from the rest. A small mound, a patch of different colored soil. These could be markers. They reached the Dragon's Teeth. Moving between the concrete blocks, Donovan spotted a bunker, 50 meters away. No visible movement, but someone was inside. He could feel it. Murphy moved close. "You see the bunker?" he whispered. "I see it," Donovan said. "What do we do?" Before Donovan could answer, the bunker opened fire. The machine gun cut through everything. Men went flat. Donovan pressed himself behind a concrete block. Rounds struck the stone around him and chips flew. Donovan couldn't lift his head.
The bunkers on the Siegfried Line were positioned to provide mutual support. A unit attacking one bunker would come under fire from the adjacent ones. This interlocking fire system put attacking forces under extreme pressure from multiple directions at once. The minefields were designed to slow the advance and channel units into specific corridors that corresponded precisely to the bunker fire lanes. American forces paid heavily to break through this system.
Donovan was lying behind the concrete block. The bunker kept firing. Murphy was flat on the ground to the right. 2 more men to the left. Nobody could move. Moving meant dying. He pulled out the radio, got through to the commander. "Bunker has us pinned down. Machine gun. We can't get through." The commander came back. "No artillery support available right now. You'll have to sort it yourselves." Donovan put the radio down. He would sort it himself. He looked around. 15 meters to the right, there was another concrete block. If he could reach it, he would have a better angle on the bunker. Maybe he could find an opening, but 15 meters was open ground. He turned to Murphy. "I'm going to run. You fire. Keep the bunker busy." Murphy's eyes tightened. 15 meters of open ground. I know. You could get hit. I know. Murphy held his gaze for a moment, then raised his rifle. "Ready." Donovan took a breath. 1, 2. He ran. 15 meters. Rounds cracked around him. Dirt kicked up. He hit the concrete block and got behind it. Took a breath. He was alive. He looked at the left side of the bunker. There was a small opening. Could be a ventilation slot, big enough for a grenade.
Neutralizing bunkers on the Siegfried Line required direct exposure. There was no way around it. Fire from a distance was ineffective against concrete of that thickness. American infantry found that throwing grenades through firing slots or using flamethrowers were the most reliable methods. Both were extremely dangerous because the attacking soldier had to get very close to the bunker. During that approach, fire from adjacent bunkers was almost inevitable. Donovan's decision in that moment was tactically sound. The odds of surviving it were not good.
Donovan looked at the left side of the bunker. A ventilation slot, small but enough. He pulled out a grenade, got the pin ready, waited 1 second. 2. He threw it. The explosion came from inside the bunker. The machine gun went quiet. Murphy shouted, "Got it!" Donovan got up, ran, reached the bunker door, looked inside. 2 German soldiers on the ground. One was still moving. Donovan went in, bent down, crouched beside him. A young face, very young. Donovan went back outside. Murphy came over. "Cleared," Donovan said. Murphy nodded. "How many more are out there?" Donovan looked along the line. More bunkers visible in the distance, row after row. "A lot," he said, and moved on. That day the unit cleared 6 bunkers. 6. And everyone demanded the same price. Everyone required the same approach, the same risk, the same luck. When evening came, Donovan sat in his foxhole. He looked at his hands. That morning his unit had numbered 34 men. By evening it was 27. 7 men, 6 bunkers. He didn't want to do the math.
American forces suffered heavy casualties per bunker throughout the Siegfried Line fighting. Taking out a single position could take hours. Across the entire length of the line, that process had to be repeated thousands of times. Over time, American command developed more coordinated tactics. Infantry, tanks, and engineer units working together. Engineers cleared mines, while tanks provided covering fire and infantry closed on the bunkers. This coordination improved the pace of the advance. It didn't reduce the cost.
The third week, Donovan was still on the line. Every day the same. Morning, push forward. Bunker, mine, pull back, push forward again. Every day a few more men gone. Every day the same concrete, the same steel, the same death. Donovan had noticed something. The men had stopped talking. Back in Normandy they talked. In Sicily they made jokes. Here everyone was quiet, just doing what had to be done. Mechanical, not quite human anymore. One day Murphy was hit coming out of a bunker. In the leg. Not serious, but he couldn't walk. Donovan carried him 200 meters, under fire, all the way back to the defensive line. Murphy was sent to the aid station. That evening, Donovan sat alone in his foxhole. Murphy's place was empty. Murphy had been beside him for 3 years, since North Africa. Now he was gone, wounded, alive, but gone. Donovan tried to write a letter home, picked up his pen, opened the paper, looked at it. He couldn't write anything. What would he say? Describe the concrete bunkers? The dragon's teeth? The ground that might blow up under your boots at any step? He closed the paper, put the pen down. He tried to sleep. Sleep wouldn't come. When his eyes closed, he saw the bunker. He saw the young German soldier's face. In the morning, he got up, moved forward again. What else could he do?
The psychological attrition suffered by American forces during the Siegfried Line fighting is as well documented as the physical casualties, facing the same type of obstacle repeatedly, constant exposure to mines, and an enemy that was rarely visible, accelerated combat fatigue considerably. Cases of battle exhaustion, increased significantly during this period. The letters men like Donovan sent home reflect the general tone of correspondence from that time: short, vague, emotionally closed off. Finding words to describe what the line was like had become nearly impossible.
The Siegfried Line was eventually broken. It took months. September 1944 to February 1945. 5 months. Every day its own battle. Every bunker its own price. Donovan survived that stretch. He couldn't say exactly how. Luck, caution, both? He had no answer. In March 1945, he crossed into Germany. He had been fighting for years, and now he was on enemy soil. He stopped, looked around. The ground wasn't different from France. The trees were the same. The sky was the same. But one thing was different. There were no more bunkers. Donovan struggled to describe that feeling afterward. In one interview, he said this: "When I crossed the border, I didn't know what I was going to feel. Joy? Relief? I didn't feel either of those. I just felt tired, and I thought about the ones I'd left behind." The war ended in May 1945. Donovan went home to New York. Murphy came home too, with his leg. The two of them met up once, in a bar. They didn't talk much. They drank a beer. When Donovan left, he patted Murphy on the back. He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to.
Breaking through the Siegfried Line was a critical turning point on the Western Front. The Rhine River lay behind it. Once the Rhine was crossed, Germany's capacity to defend itself was largely broken. But the process had cost American and Allied forces heavily. Estimates vary, but Allied casualties in the Siegfried Line fighting run into the tens of thousands. Military historians consistently place these battles among the most grueling land operations of the Second World War, both in strategic and human terms.
Donovan died in 2003, in New York, at home. He talked about the Siegfried Line very rarely for the rest of his life. His grandchildren tried to ask sometimes. He gave short answers. "It was a tough line," he said. "A lot of concrete," he said. He even laughed when he said it, but he didn't laugh at night. His wife knew that. She saw it across decades. Sometimes he would wake up in the night, sit up, look out the window. She never asked. She knew there was no point in asking. Once his grandson asked him, "Grandpa, what do you remember most from that war?" Donovan thought about it for a long time. Then he said, "The concrete. I never forgot that concrete. Bullets couldn't get through it. Bombs couldn't get through it. The only way through was to get close. And getting close meant dying. But we went. Every day, we went." His grandson wrote that down in a notebook. Years later, he used it for a school assignment. The Siegfried Line today is a few paragraphs in history books. A line on a map. In some places, the concrete is still there. Tourists take photographs. Donovan never went back to see it. He didn't want to, because that concrete wasn't just an obstacle to him. In front of every bunker, there had been a person. Sometimes it was Murphy. Sometimes it was that young German face. Sometimes it was someone with no name. And getting past every bunker had cost something. 630 kilometers of line. Thousands of bunkers. A story in front of everyone. Donovan only lived through a few of them, but he carried all of them, every night, at the window, in silence.
The legacy of the Siegfried Line fighting has never quite received the attention it deserves in the history of the Second World War. It doesn't get mentioned the way Normandy or the Battle of the Bulge does. But military historians are in broad agreement that these battles directly determined the course of the Western Front. Without breaking through the line, entering Germany would have come much later and at much greater cost. The price paid by men like Donovan across those months is the foundation of that history. The concrete is still standing. The men are gone.